Okay. Okay. I think this is working now. I see the chat box actually, and I don't know where the chat box was before. That's the first time that's ever happened. I'm so sorry. I apologize to you guys. Just let me reintroduce myself. I'm Dr. Dave, and I run this channel here called Microdosing 101. And I've been microdosing for about 13 months now. And the reason I started microdosing magic mushrooms is due to a lot of extreme anxiety, depression, some PTSD from a marriage, and other reasons. And I tried so many other things: talk therapy, antidepressants, anti-anxiety agents, things like that. And they work to an extent, but not really the way I wanted them to work. So um, microdosing psilocybin, magic mushrooms, is the only thing that has given me the results. I feel like I'm back to the way I should be. And so I started sharing my um, experience with other people, and I'm here to help. And I'm by no means an expert because I only have 13 months of experience with this, which is good, but it's, I'm not, I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I'm good enough that I can answer your questions and try to help you along. So do me a favor, put something in the just say, if do you have your chat box? If you have something in your chat box, say hello to me. I want to see that somebody's here, because this is a little weird today. Some weird things are happening on my computer, on my YouTube, and I don't know exactly what. So can somebody just say hello? And I want to see if you're here, if you're actually here. Okay, Sylvia said, okay, beautiful. So I know it's working to an extent. I know it's working. Perfect. Hi, Sylvia. Welcome. And I'm so sorry, I had to start the live stream over, so it's not the original link. So it might take some time for people to find us here. I feel really bad when we have like tech issues like this, but I'm at the mercy of the tech gods. So I just got to do the best I can. That's all. So Sylvia, good to have you here. I've got a couple people in the room, but not many yet. Usually, as we go, it progresses, and also a lot of people do watch this on the replay. So again, I wanted to share my experience, what I've done. I'm here to answer any questions. Sylvia, since you might be the first person and the only one maybe capable of asking questions, if you have a question, I'll be happy to answer. Don't feel obligated. Some people just come and just kind of hang out and try to get information from other people that are asking questions, or maybe from me that's sharing my experience. So okay, so no questions yet. I will tell you that 3 years ago, my wife and I moved from the East Coast to Utah, to Salt Lake City, Utah. And we were just getting kind of fed up with the way our lives were going on the East Coast. It was kind of the same old thing all the time, crowded as hell. Um, we were just getting sick of it. So we packed up everything we had. We sold mostly everything we had. We packed up the remaining stuff we had, and we just moved here to Utah. And our lives have been really, really good, except for the fact that um, uh, as soon as we moved here, and even before we moved here, I started having just extreme anxiety about something. I'm not even sure what it was about, but it was really, really rough. And that's when I started getting involved with seeing a mental health professional, seeing my primary care physician, trying to work things out with me. I got on this. I was diagnosed with sleep apnea, so I got on the CPAP. I was trying to do every single thing I could to get rid of this anxiety, get rid of my depression, get rid of my high blood pressure that was just ridiculous. I don't know why. And so that's when nothing else was working the way I wanted it to work. That is when I was introduced to magic mushrooms, and they pretty much absolutely changed my life. And I'm assuming that many of you that are either here live or watching the replay are in the same situation that I was in a couple years ago, and you just don't know where to turn. And I'm here to share with you how the mushrooms have really, really, totally changed my life. And that's where I'm here to help. So um, Sylvie says, I never tried a macrodose. I was wondering if I would need a sitter to try 1 or 2 grams of golden teachers. In my opinion, from my um, dosing of in that range of 1 to 2 grams, in my opinion, again, not medical advice, you know that. I do not think you need a trip sitter for 1 to 2 grams. It's not a real heavy dose at all. You can pretty much function the way you want to. It gives you a feeling of being. I think 1 to 2 grams is actually called a museum dose because it's kind of dose where you would eat the mushrooms and go to a museum and just stare at the exhibits, stare at the artwork. Wow, look at that. And but you can function on it. And so trip sitter, no. I would probably recommend though if you take it 1 to 2 gram dose. First of all, what's the reason you're taking it? Number one. Second of all, I would prefer just to really hang out in a familiar place, either in nature or at home on my sofa, listening to some good music or very quiet room, and I would enjoy it that way. But no, I don't think you need it. At least from my experience, what it feels like to me, feels kind of dreamy, not high, not stoned, not drunk, but just kind of very, very comfortable, dreamy, floaty, if that makes sense. It's very hard to describe. And before I ever ingested any mushrooms, I always heard people say, no, it doesn't feel like marijuana, doesn't feel like alcohol at all. And I started thinking like, well, what does it feel like? But now I kind of know. I don't have experience in like the large doses, but 1 to 2 plus grams, very dreamy. Anything else? Anything else you want to know, guys? And I feel really bad. Like I said, I think the link that I originally put up is no longer working. So people are probably having a tough time finding this live stream. I feel bad because I think a lot of people were planning to do it, but now they're probably like saying, well, "Where is it? Where is he? Where is he?" I'm here. I'm here, but we had some electronic tech problems, unfortunately. So, Sylvia, I really appreciate you being here, and other people are here. They're kind of keeping quiet. If you're here in the room, just at the very least, just say hello. Say hello in the chat box. Let me know you're here. Um, I've got my little sound meditation bowl, my what do you call it? The Tibetan singing bowl, which is very, very relaxing. Sylvia, I hope that did help. Yeah, Sylvia, as you've been on the live streams before. Usually, we have a lot of people, and usually a lot of people are saying hello. I don't know. It's probably some type of a weird tech issue, and one of the problems is that um, I had to totally delete that link. That the link that maybe a lot of people were going to use. I had to delete that link, and people didn't realize that they're probably clicking the old link and it says it's gone. It's probably a big mess. I think I'll give it a little bit of time, but I think more people will come into the room as they find out that I'm live streaming now. If you're here, please just click into the chat room, the chat box, I should say, that you're here and say hello. Jerry, how are you doing? Do I eat food with my microdose or do you do it on an empty stomach? I always do it on an empty stomach. I think you just because if you have food in your stomach, it's going to work, but it's just going to take that much longer, and it'd be more unpredictable. So generally, when I microdose, it's in the morning. It's first thing after I wake up. I walk down into the kitchen. I have a little bit of tea, maybe. I have my microdose. Sometimes I'll have a half a banana with it, but I never have any problem at all with upset stomach. A lot of people talk about they have nausea, upset stomachs, just weird stomach issues. I've personally never experienced any of that. However, well, even with doing larger doses, I've never personally. I know a lot of people have. I've never personally had a problem with upset stomachs. So again, everybody's different. I've said this a million times on many different videos. Everybody's different. Your mileage may vary. Hey, Trip, how you doing? I'm very sorry. I'm glad you found us. I had some tech issues with the original link. It wasn't giving me a chat box at all, and nobody was saying anything, and I didn't understand what was going on. So I just kind of started over, and I've got a new link now. But I think a lot of people, unfortunately, aren't really going to find it. So it's a weird issue. I think as time goes on, people will be coming in, but it'll be like it's just too weird. Thanks, Trip. I know, Trip. I need to have your outlook on life a little bit more. If you don't know So chop wood, carry water, practical spirituality is Trip Maxwell. He's a friend of mine. He's in New Mexico, and he's actually taught me a lot about psilocybin, about life, about depression, anxiety, PTSD, things like that. And I'm talking to Trip. Trip is definitely more of an expert on the larger doses. I don't claim to be an expert in anything, but I have been microdosing for about 13 months now. So I think I know my way around the block with microdosing, but I'm not really that well versed with larger doses. But Trip is here. Trip, so what I was going to say is I want to have your outlook on life where nothing bothers you. You always claim that nothing bothers you at all. I think that's great. Um, and I think the test was when this live stream went bad, my first link didn't work, and it worked. I was on, but nobody was making comments, and there was no chat box. So it was very, very bizarre. Now I'm here, it's working, but unfortunately, I mean, every single one of you in this room, every single one of you viewing is important to me. But it's always better if we have more people because more questions get asked. And I do realize that this will eventually be posted for anybody to see, even after the live part. It'll be posted. Anybody can see this, but it's always good. The reason I do them live is because people, you can ask questions in real time, just like Sylvia and Jerry did. And if you have a question about macro dosing, or a better stated, not macro dosing, but therapeutic dosing, I think that's what Tripp would probably say. He'd probably call it a therapeutic dose or a threshold dose. I think he maybe uses both those terms. Maybe I've heard him use threshold dose a little more. Yeah, Tripp. See, I love your attitude, brother. I love your attitude. Let's just work with what we have. Because as I said, every single one of you here is important. It doesn't really matter if we have one or two. The one or two are super important to me, or if we have 50. Everybody here is important. The only reason sometimes it's better to have more on a live stream is because we get more questions asked. That's all. Threshold, yeah, threshold dose. Trip is and I love the nickname. I love the nickname Trip. And I know it didn't even come from psychedelics. I understand. But Trip told me the story in one of my videos a while ago. It didn't actually come from tripping on psychedelics, but it's a great name, Trip. I want you to keep that name there. Okay, now we're here. If anybody other than Sylvia and Jerry and Trip, Chopwood is Trip, have not introduced yourself, just do me a favor, just drop into the chat room and just say hello, just so I know who you are, that you're here. And if you do have a question, put it in there as well, and I'll try my best to answer it right here in real time. As you're doing that, now don't all do it at once. Don't everybody do it at once because it's going to be too confusing. So, Jessica, thank you very much. Jessica did it. I on the last live stream I did, we started talking about music and good music to use when you're microdosing or when you're using a larger dose. And I went to look for a record album. I still love my vinyl. I got back into my vinyl about 4 or 5 years ago, pretty heavily. I dropped all my vinyl for decades when we were using CDs, and then we were using. Then we got into like live iPods and then live streaming and stuff like that. So, but there's nothing like vinyl. I love vinyl. I'm glad I kept most of my collection. But I wanted to share this with you because I couldn't find it last time. I had to run out of the room and I couldn't find it. But this is an album. This is real vinyl album called "Their Satanic Majesty's Request" by the Rolling Stones. And this music is, I believe, in my mind, it's made for psychedelic use. You can even see the cover. This is the original cover, and if you turn it around, it's kind of like a 3D-ish. Now, I'm not saying all Rolling Stones music would be good for use when you're dosing, but this particular album, their Satanic Majesty's Request, was made for it. There's no question in my mind. So we've got about 9 people in here, and very few of you have actually said hello. So I want you to say hello so I know who's here, if you can, if you want to. And I want you to ask a question, because if we don't have any questions, I mean, you're just going to hear me talking boring stuff the whole time, and I don't think you want that. So let's get a question. Okay, so does the strain of mushrooms matter? It's a great question. Hi, Maxine. How you doing, by the way? Jessica asked the question. So I'm glad Trip jumped in there and answered, because it matters. I'm not an expert on all the strains. I know there are a lot of, I think there are hundreds and hundreds of strains out there. The ones I'm more familiar with, of course, people know Golden Teachers. That's a very common one. Penis Envy, Albino Penis Envy. There's, and those are very very strong ones. Um, but Trip, if you want to say a little something, and Trip, I'm sorry we didn't get this video together. It's probably a better thing we're not on video because of all the tech problems I had today. That would be just one more thing that we screw up. So Trip, if you would like to share what your favorite strains are for different purposes, that would be fantastic. That would be great. And last time we also had a bunch of people asking questions. How can I get in touch with this guy, Trip? This He's always on your videos. He's always on your live streams. How can I get in touch with him? Well, it's very easy. Go on Facebook or on YouTube and do a search for Chop Wood, Carry Water, Practical Spirituality. And you'll see his YouTube channel. You'll see his Facebook group. It's a great group. And he's also, kind of he's helping a lot of people with their questions, especially concerning threshold doses. So, Trip, thank you so much for answering that. I really appreciate it. Alex, hey, welcome, Alex. How are you doing? Sergeant Pepper, yes. I don't have it right with me because I ran to my record shelf, my record library, and picked this up. But I should have picked up a copy. I've got several copies of Sergeant Pepper. Yes, I totally agree. That is made for what we are doing. It was totally, totally written and orchestrated and produced for the results that we want to have, if you know what I'm saying. It's a great album in its own right. And then when you're using some plant medicine, I feel it's even better. Things kind of speak out to you that you would never hear if you were not using the plant medicine. Let's see, who else has a question? Wow. My last trip was saying my last trip was on 5 grams of ODPE. I'm not OD. I know PE is penis envy. I'm not sure what the OD stands for, ODPE. But yeah, so we said it felt like 13 grams. It would be equal to approximately the way you felt, 13 grams of Gold Teacher. So yes, if you're going to be doing especially a macrodose or a therapeutic dose, make sure you know what strain you have, because if you have a super super powerful strain like let's see, like ODPE, then it's going to be magnified, maybe more than double even. So be super, super, super careful. Trip, how does I'm sorry, so tell me, what does the OD stand for? ODP. I know PE is penis envy. What does the OD stand for, number one? And yes, how you take them affects the potency also. Exactly. Empty stomach, full stomach. If you take them in a smoothie, if you take them, if you lemon tech, there are a lot of different things you can do that are going to affect the potency for sure. Absolutely. So thanks, Trip, for that. Appreciate that. Any more questions? Any more introductions? If you're here, introduce yourself and just say hi. I won't put you on the spot. I won't say, hey, you better ask a question, but just like to know your name. That's all. Like to be familiar with my audience here. It's very important to me. And also my good buddy Trip. Trip treats everybody that asks him a question as if they're the only one really in the room or in the chat, because he really takes his time and cares about helping others, because he's been through so much shit, if I can say that, so much shit, that when he found the way to change his life by using therapeutic doses of magic mushrooms, he's really, really happy to share. Now, I changed my life through microdosing because I didn't know Trip before, when I first started. I didn't, and I was way, many, many, many months into it. And the microdosing, absolutely, no question, has helped me. I'm 13 months into the microdosing. There's zero question. Now, if I were to start over, would I try some larger doses? Yes, absolutely. And I still plan to do that. But let's say I would have met somebody like Trip before I started microdosing, and I would have had conversations with him, and I would have told him what happened in my life and what I feel like. He would absolutely recommend to me therapeutic dosing, and I would have probably done that either in advance or in conjunction with microdosing. But I got to tell you, Trip is not really he's not a big fan of microdosing. it's not that he doesn't believe in it, but he's not against it. But I think Tripp really feels that the larger therapeutic doses can more predictably and more powerfully help people that have just gone through a bunch of shit and have still problems that they don't want to help. They don't want to use pharmaceuticals and talk therapy. And there's only so much that yoga and meditation. I believe in all of that. I believe in yoga. I believe in meditation. I believe in all that stuff. But there's only so much. It's not going to turn somebody around and change your life if you've got some really really bad things going on. It's just not going to. It can help. It can be a really good adjunct, but it's not going to be the things. And also, talk therapy, I don't think is going to be the thing. Talk therapy, talk therapy is when you go in and talk to a therapist, whether it's a psychiatrist, psychologist, social worker, whatever it might be, and you sit there for the hour and you tell them what's on your mind. That's talk therapy, and they try to help you. Talk therapy is okay. A lot of people do it. I have done it quite a bit, but it doesn't. It's not going. I don't think it's going to change your life. I just like magic mushrooms do. I just don't think in conjunction with it, yes, but I don't think it's going to change your life um, the way that we've been sharing with you. Tripp says microdosing takes too long to get you to a good place. Yes, maybe, but again, I have put 13 months into microdosing with an occasional larger, let's say, museum type dose, and it's been nothing less than phenomenal for me. As I sit here right now, my anxiety is zero. My depression is zero. I feel great. I went on like a nice long, not long, but challenging hike this morning right here in Utah. Challenging hike. I've been outside. I met up with my wife and another friend for like a little happy hour. Happy hours around noon after our hikes. Um, I feel great. And if I had not been microdosing, if I had not been microdosing, I will tell you right now, I would feel nothing like this. I would be tense, anxious, depressed. The depression wasn't every day, but it was some days. But it was when it came about, it was just something that was very, very difficult to deal with. Very, very tough to deal with. Threshold doses burn your trauma out quickly. Yes, I absolutely hear you, Tripp, and even though I don't have the experience that you do, I agree with it. From what I've seen and talked to other people, I totally, totally agree with that for sure. Sam, how are you, Sam? Sam says, I found the solution to my nausea. Forget the lemon tech. Hot water, ginger, and honey for 20 minutes. Steep, strain, then sip it over 20 minutes. Do it on an empty stomach. Well, cool. So that's this, and Tripp is the second person that maybe suggests it in a different form, but the ginger paste or ginger is very very soothing to our stomachs. So I can see how that would work. So good suggestions there, guys. I really appreciate it. Turkey Vulture, the same headphones. I love them too. I absolutely love these. I've had headphones over the years, earbuds, all kind of stuff. And I still what I use, these are the Apple. These are the Apple, what are they? AirPod, what do they call it? AirPod Pro Max or something like that. I get all the names confused. I love these. And my inside the ear earbuds are I got those fairly new Beat ones that Beats. I really like those a lot actually. So the combination of the two. Thank you, Turkey. I really appreciate that. When we talk, I love tech stuff, and by the way, speaking of mushrooms and psychedelics, if you put headphones like this on and listen to good music, there's no other feeling. There's no other feeling that even comes close. It's like, and I think Turkey would agree with me here. It's just like magical. I like these for like sound quality is better for the over the ears. But again, you can't go wrong with like a really high end pair of earbuds like the AirPod Pro, or the Beats. There are a lot of good ones out there, but they have to be like a really good, high quality, because when you want to hear this music, you want to hear how the artists wanted you to hear it. So, um, yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that, Turkey. I appreciate that. Maxine, how are you? Maxine, let's take a chance on you, Maxine. I just started microdosing for depression. It's only thing has helped me. It's the only thing that's helped me. I'm trying to find a place to order candy bar or gummies that reputable was told be sent to me. Say, Maxine, I'm really sorry. On my videos here, even on the live stream, I don't get involved with anything like that with distributing or any where to buy. I just, as you can understand, I really want this channel to be above board where I'm giving advice, but we're not getting into the area of here's where to get, because in most places, at least where I am in the U.S., in most jurisdictions they are not legal. Some of you are lucky to be in an area where they're decriminalized, and I wish that would be the case. So they're illegal. So I've got to be very careful. So I never show anything on a video. I never show any substances on a video at all. And it's only talk. So if people want to come bust me just for talking, they want to come busting through my door and bust me for talking. I think there are many more problems in the world that law enforcement, and I really respect law enforcement a lot. I really respect them. But I think they've got a lot more problems and things to deal with than an old guy sitting in a studio in Utah somewhere, just talking about this stuff and not sharing, not selling, not distributing in any way, not sourcing. Um, I want to be that guy that just I want to play it safe. I don't want to end up in trouble anywhere. So I'm sorry, that was a long-winded answer for it. I can't share that with you at all on videos. Falcon, Pink Floyd is yes. I listened to a lot of Pink Floyd. I listened to a lot of Pink Floyd over decades, over many decades. However, and also Roger Waters is coming to Salt Lake City in the fall. Roger Waters is coming here. However, I won't see him. I will refuse to see Roger Waters. If you want to take a guess in the chat section why I refuse to see Roger Waters live. I still listen to the albums that I have and I live stream, but there's a very strong reason why I won't get to go to see Roger Waters. But do I like Pink Floyd's music? Love it. Absolutely. No question about it. Let's get back to some of these that I might have missed here. Jerry, how much does your mood matter when you're microdosing? If you're anxious or depressed while taking it, will it amplify? It's a great question. So I know for sure that people have told me, and Trip can weigh in on this as well. Trip, by the way, Trip is Chop Wood, Carry Water, Practical Spirituality. He's here, but that's his name. Yes, when you use a larger dose, it can absolutely magnify or bring out the state of mind that you're in. That's why they say that set and setting is so important before using a larger dose. It's not as important when you microdose, because a microdose is really a subperceptual dose. You're not supposed to be tripping on a microdose. So to answer your question, who was that? That was that Jerry, that was Jerry. To answer your question, Jerry, by the way, thanks for all these good questions coming in now. Jerry, it doesn't matter as much on a microdose as it would on a therapeutic dose. That's my official answer, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, let's see who we have. We have Maxine. Okay, yeah, okay, there you go. Falcons fan, 408. I thought Falcons fans had an area code of 404. I thought. I already read your thing. Pink Floyd is great on mushrooms. Yes, Alex Barker, my buddy. Oh my God, Alex, great to have you here. I'm doing this live stream. Alex, we had a little screw up at the beginning. The link that I gave when I went live, it didn't work. Things weren't working, so I had to start over from scratch. So unfortunately, that probably got a lot of people out of the live stream, but I feel bad. But Alex, I'm glad you're here, man. Good to be here. Mike, finding reliable sources can be an issue for some of us. I'm not sure where you are. It's okay. Let me just share this with you. Again, I can't talk about sourcing. I can't talk about where to get it on my videos, anywhere on my videos, but I'm somebody that knew nothing. 13 months ago, knew nothing about I knew nothing about mushrooms, and where to get them was a mystery. I had no idea. But I can just tell you this. in a very, very short amount of time with a little bit of ingenuity and research, I was able to find a, one or two really good, let's say two really good reputable sources. I'm really sorry, I can't go into more detail, but if you have a little bit of ingenuity, and it's really not difficult at all. The only thing I'm going to warn you about is that almost every time I do a video, these weird Instagrammers, they are scammers. They come on and they say, you can buy it here, and we'll help you with it, and we'll be able to chat with you, we'll be able to help you and coach you. Please, every single one of them that comes on and without being asked to, and writes some kind of stupid thing about, like, check out my Instagram page. Here you get psychedelics candy bar. They're fake. They're scammers. You will lose your money. So please, I try to delete all of them that I can, but sometimes they slip by and I don't see them. And I just don't want any of you to get ripped off. Please do not give them any business. And again, you'll see them. They're the weirdos that just come on and say, look at my Instagram handle. Get away. Okay. Let's see. Sylvia again. Sylvia. Serious question for Trip and Dave. Have you guys heard of macrodosing and heart problems for folks with HTN? HTN. Why can't I think of what HTN is? HTN. I'm sorry, but I have heard of it. But I don't. Again, this is not medical advice that I'm giving, but I have heard, but I don't think it's an issue. I've heard some people suspected that there could be problems, but I don't think. Let's see if high blood pressure. Oh, so HTN means high blood pressure. HTN, high. Oh, okay, I'm not familiar with it. Hypertension. Oh, HTN is an abbreviation for hypertension. I've never seen that abbreviation. I apologize. Is it usually HBP or just they say high blood pressure or hyper? But thank you. You taught me something, Sylvia. Thank you. Okay, so when I started microdosing, I had hypertension. It cured it. I was on medication and my blood pressure started going down so low. I with my doctor's approval, I got off of my blood pressure medication. And I can say that right now, I've been off my blood pressure meds for probably 10 to 11 months now. It didn't happen overnight, but probably within 2 months of microdosing, I was totally off of my high blood pressure medication. So in that way, Sylvia, the magic mushrooms helped me get rid of my high blood pressure. So that's so that's interesting. In Canada, you refer to it as HTN, hypertension. Okay, cool. I didn't know. Trip asked me a question. When's the last time you heard of anyone dying of mushroom use? Well, it's a loaded question because I personally have never heard of anybody dying from mushroom use. So I think what Trip is getting at is that they are not toxic. I don't think, now again, don't quote me on this, but from what I understand, you cannot overdose on psilocybin mushrooms. You can't overdose on them. Now, can they do some things to, like, could you possibly be tripping so hard that you do something stupid and you die that way? Yeah, that's possible. That's why if you're doing high doses, you need to know what you're doing and you need to be in the proper set and setting. And I think Trip may not recommend a trip sitter. So I'm not going to say you need one or you don't need one, but you better know what you're doing and you better be in the right frame of mind. But no, you can't die from ingesting magic mushrooms. I don't think there's ever been a recorded case of anybody dying directly from the mushrooms themselves. Let's see, what do we have here? Sylvia again. By the way, thank you for your great questions, Sylvia. I'm also microdosing and it's been good, but not macrodosing. Good. And Sylvia, that's exactly what I was doing. I mean, before I even met Trip, I was only doing microdosing, and like I said, 13 months into it, it's working great for me. But as a caveat, as a disclaimer, I have used medium doses, which would be museum type doses, 1 to 2 grams. I have done that, but never a true therapeutic dose. Let's see. There's no overdose ceiling for psilocybin mushrooms. Yep, Trip. That's what I got it right. Right. I got your answer right. That's what I've heard. That's what I understand. That's what I've read. From the research. That's what I've heard. But again, um, that's not to say that if you're not in the right set and setting, it's not to say you might not do something stupid. But please, please be careful. That's all. Um, It's funny. I'm going to see if anybody knows anything about this. Okay, Sam, thank you. What time of the day do you typically take the microdose? I typically take the microdose when I wake up in the morning, empty stomach. Again, I might have a little bit of coffee or tea and a half a banana, but generally on empty stomach. And that's the way I found it works best for me. Everybody is different for sure. Um, so I want to ask you guys, maybe somebody here can answer the question I've got for you now. Um, Growing up and being a child of the 60s and 70s, I knew a lot of people that used psychedelics. And there was always like a stigma with psychedelics, like be careful, like you might have a bad trip, you might have psychosis, you might have something. But okay, a lot of people talk like that about psychedelics, but I never heard anybody say, "Be careful, don't smoke too much marijuana. If you're going to use marijuana, get a trip sitter." I never heard anybody say that. Can anybody help me and answer why are people much more concerned about a trip sitter for psychedelics and not for cannabis? I'd love to know the answer to this because again, it's something that's been puzzling me. You can take a really high dose of cannabis and be totally out of it. And I would submit to you that you could probably have a really bad trip on cannabis if you take enough of it, and if you're in the wrong mindset. Um, let's see. So I'd love to have somebody answer that if they can, and we'll continue here. What routine do you follow? Days on, days off. Mike, thanks for the question. I've not done the stam and stack. I do take lion's mane separately, like almost every day, but it's a separate thing. It's not like a stack with a microdose or anything like that. So, okay, what do I do? What routine do I follow? When I first started, I started with I think 125 milligrams. I think I did. I think back then I did 3 days on, 2 days off, then 3 days on, 2 days off. As time went on, I was able to go up to 250 milligrams. Again, you got to be good with the metric system. Remember, 250 milligrams is 0.25 grams. I found that to be like maybe a better dose for me. Although these days I go back and forth between anywhere between 100 and 300, maybe 300 milligrams, something like that. Um, just trial and error, knowing what things feel like to me, knowing how I feel after the microdose. But that's what I did. These days I don't have a definite regimen. I probably microdose three, maybe four, 3 to 4 times a week on microdose. But I don't have the same regimen just because I feel so much better now, and I have such a good feel for what the microdose is going to do that I just kind of do it, kind of like PRN as needed. And that's the way I do it now. But I would not recommend somebody starting out. I would not recommend doing it like I do now. Have a definite schedule. And again, there's nothing carved in stone that says you have to. There's only certain schedules that work. A very common one is 3 days on, 2 days off. A lot of people would say that you need more than 2 days off after doing 3 days on. So if you want to take 3 days off, that's okay. Again, there's nothing that is carved in stone and so scientific that if you don't do it exactly like that, it's not going to work. No, these are mushrooms. There are a lot of different ways to do them. So I wonder if it's because people generally don't hallucinate when on cannabis. You take enough of it. If you take enough of it, you'll certainly have closed eye visuals for sure. But again, do you need a trip sitter only because you're hallucinating, or is it deeper than that? I'd love to know the answer. I'd like to know what Trip would say about that too. If you're still there, why do why does everybody talk about a trip sitter with psychedelics, and I've never heard anybody talk about a trip sitter with cannabis? And I'm just really curious to know why. And I don't think it's just the reason because you hallucinate, because again, hallucinations could just be closed eye visuals that are actually very pleasant and very just easy and pleasant. Anyway, I want to know the answer to that. Let's see if anybody wrote it yet. Mike, do you combine macrodosing with microdosing regimen breaks in? Yeah. So again, this is just me, and I wouldn't say I macrodose, but I do like larger 1 to 2 gram doses occasionally. So I just kind of, again, I don't have a definite schedule anymore, but if I know I'm going to do a large, let's say I know I'm going to do a larger dose on a Sunday morning. Let's just make that up. On a Sunday morning, I'm going to do a larger dose. So I would make sure several days before I'm not microdosing at all. Even though I don't think a microdose is really going to affect a macrodose that much, I still try to clean myself out and not have a microdose for about three days before I'm going to do like a museum type dose. Um, Okay, wait. Okay, let me go back because we're getting questions. I don't want to miss anybody. N2ITV Bear NSD says there could be so much attention on microdosing psilocybin, LSD, and recreational use of marijuana that microdosing cannabis isn't much heard of, let alone having a trip sitter. No, no, I wasn't talking about microdosing cannabis though. I was talking about why doesn't I've throughout my entire life I've never heard anybody say if you're going to be using cannabis you need a trip sitter. And I'm not talking about microdosing. I'm talking about like regular recreational type or medicinal type dose. And I still want to know the answer. Why don't people using cannabis need a trip sitter? Why is it just with psychedelics? That's kind of what I want to know. Let's see if anybody has answered that. Trip says they are scared. Interesting. So in other words, people are scared to use psychedelics, but not scared to use cannabis. Is that what you're saying? Why? Why? Why are people? Why is it somebody said there's a stigma? Who said that? Let's see. Somebody said there's a stigma. Oh, Maxine thinks there's a stigma attached. So in other words, over the years, people say that if you're using psychedelics, you could have a bad trip. You need a trip sitter. Is that it? Is that the only reason? Because again, I'm not clear on why with psychedelics you should have a trip sitter, but with cannabis, even if you're going to be ingesting 30 milligrams of cannabis or 40 milligrams, you don't need it. I've never heard anybody say you need a trip sitter. That's help me out on that one. Has this led to a misconception of both drugs? Sam asked that question. I'd say, yeah. Um, Yeah, I'd say very possible. And also Sam's popular culture and media conflates the experience of cannabis with the effects of mushrooms. Not sure why beyond the fact that it's a fun aesthetic. Culture media conflates the experience of cannabis with the effects of mushrooms. Interesting. Well, okay, well that's helpful, but I, maybe I'm still not totally clear. Um, would you learn trip sitting? No, I don't think so. A trip sitter is not there to like be like a talk therapist while you're tripping. A trip sitter, from what I know, I've never had a trip sitter. A trip because I haven't taken large enough doses. Again, the largest I've taken is 2+ grams, and I certainly did not need anything close to a trip sitter for that at all. But what was I saying? I can't remember. Would you learn trips? So yeah, trip sitter is not meant to be there to like be your coach as you're tripping. That's not what a trip sitter is simply there, I believe. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but a trip sitter is simply there to make sure you're safe. And if you think you're not safe, and if you start saying certain things, the trip sitter will kind of get you back feeling like you're you're safe. That's what I feel. But again, why not for cannabis? That's still I want to know that. Let's see, Mike, 4 grams steeped into tea for 20 minutes and down the hatch. Does that mean you just did that now? As you're watching this, you steeped 4 grams in tea and you swallowed it. Maybe you did it now. I don't know. If you did, let us know how you do. um, Maxine, Sylvia, neither one weed or shrooms cross the brainstem barrier. Can't really OD on them. Different than opiates, benzos, and even alcohol. Good, true. Um, Trip says, okay, this could be the answer. Trip says people want trip sitters out of fear of the stories they have heard. Okay, that's perhaps the best answer so far. Um, Fear of stories that they've heard. But again, Trip, I'm going to take it to another level. Why do people only hear stories about psychedelics and not cannabis? Again, if most people I'm familiar with edibles and then the amount of milligrams. I don't really smoking. I don't know how many milligrams you even get, and I generally and I don't smoke. I just don't like ingesting uh, combustible material into my lungs. That's just me. So I think edibles are a lot safer and healthier. But if any of you most likely ate 40 milligrams of a cannabis edible, you'd be almost tripping. So again, I mean, you probably have some properties of tripping. I would guarantee you'd have closed eye visuals and a lot more. Um, so why not a trip sitter? Why not a trip sitter for that? I still don't understand why people have misconceptions and stories about psychedelics, but not about cannabis. I still want to know that. Um, Mike says, "Oh, let me answer Alex. Does anyone know how common serotonin syndrome is?" I can speak. Well, I can't speak to how common it is, but I was on 20 milligrams of Lexapro, which is an SSRI, when I started microdosing, and I never had any even close to a problem with any type of serotonin syndrome. Nothing. I never had anything that made me feel weird or like the symptoms of. I can't remember what they are now, but I've read about them and I never had them. I don't. If you're on a pretty high dose of an SSRI, and as Trip would probably agree, because he's told me this a lot, it's best to get off of the SSRI before doing a therapeutic dose. But I think microdosing is pretty darn safe with it. That's what I understand. Let me make sure I'm not missing any questions here. Um, you help us feel better. Okay, so Bear, I'm going to call you Bear because the other letters are too hard to say. You help us feel better just by talking to us face to face, sort of. So seems you could be a good trip sitter and help people stay calm and be. I could probably be a great trip sitter. I probably could be, but again, um, do you really need one? Do you really need one? Trip says Trip says no. Trip says you don't. It's just people are have preconceived notions about tripping, but he says you don't. Um, Trip says he has one comment. It just says Dave, so I don't know what that refers to, other than that's my name. Probably I don't know. I can't. Okay, so that's a good point. Okay, tripping brings up fears and nightmares. Weed doesn't. Okay, so that's another great answer to my question. If you, especially if you're in a bad set or bad setting, bad mindset or a bad setting, which the where you are, where you actually physically are, it can bring up weird feelings, weird nightmares, maybe weird hallucinations, and that's the difference between um, psychedelics and weed, and that's why you never hear anybody talk about you need a trip sitter for cannabis. So that's kind of answering my question a little bit more. Thank you very much, Trip. Cannabis is more acceptable in their minds. Maybe on some level, like cannabis is. It's like it's kind of ubiquitous and it's all over the place. And maybe so people feel that, oh, if everybody's doing this, it's safe. I'm not going to have a bad like trip on cannabis. So that's could be another reason as well. Let's see. Two kinds of trip sitters: a safety, obvious, and a guide. Different purposes. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. The ones I was referring to kind of was more of a safety trip sitter. But yeah, a guide trip sitter might guide. Doesn't have to be a guy, but a guide might be good. Might be. I don't know. I've never used one. The reason they've just started doing trials for health benefits is both were classified as having no medicinal value. Very true. They were both. I think they were both Schedule One. I don't know if they still. I don't know if they moved cannabis. No, cannabis. I guess can't be a Schedule One anymore. Well, federally, it's probably it might still be a Schedule One. Schedule One drug, which means there's no medicinal value, very dangerous. You can't buy them anywhere. Can't be prescribed. Schedule One. Um, at least in the U.S., they're called Schedule One. Canada and other countries, I'm not sure what they call them, but they probably have similar classifications. Intuitive Bear in San Diego. Got it now. Okay, I love it now. See, that makes sense now. But I still call you Bear, if that's okay, because it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier for me to say. Okay, anybody else have any questions? Big pharma is for chemicals, not plant medicines. I've always heard that. Um, I mean, maybe I guess it's true because you can't. I guess you can't patent cannabis. You can't patent a mushroom. So maybe that could be true. I don't know. Sylvie, okay, wait, Maxine, not for me. I've stopped smoking weed years because I get such bad anxiety attacks. See, that's Maxine. It's interesting. So first of all, I don't smoke. I don't like to smoke. I don't want to breathe anything combustible into my healthy lungs here. But edibles, yes, I really love them. I have to admit, I love them. They give me a really good feeling. They help me with things such as sleep also. Um, so yeah, I really I do enjoy cannabis. I don't I try not to overdo it, but I really do enjoy it. Um, and I don't get anxiety. If anything, the cannabis for me makes me much more calm. I'm never anxious if I'm using cannabis. I don't think I've ever been anxious on cannabis ever, and I've never been anxious on mushrooms. People say that they've had extreme anxiety from using mushrooms, but I've never had any type of anxiety from either. So maybe I'm just fortunate. I don't know. Um, a lot of things about big pharma, yeah. Luckily, I'm not giving big pharma any bit. I'm not against big pharma. If there's a medication out there, a pharmaceutical that you need that's going to save your life or prolong your life, and that's what you need, then I'm all for that, and I would certainly do it. Look, 13 months ago, as I said, I was on high blood pressure medication. I was on SSRI. I was on as needed benzo, which I think is dangerous, but I needed it at that time. Now, luckily, I can say during this live stream now, I am officially off everything. Um, the last was the last to go was the Lexapro, and I weaned off that very carefully, going from 20 milligrams down to 15 to 10, excuse me, to 10 to 5, 2.5. I would even cut up a 5 milligram tablet and take a 2.5. Would start skipping days, and now I'm to the point where guess what? I'm totally done with it, and it's a great feeling. The only medicine that I use at all is a plant medicine, psilocybin mushrooms. That's the only medicine I use, and I feel good to be so healthy at my age. Most people at my age probably are on 3 to 4 to 5 different prescription meds. I feel really fortunate that as of right now, I don't need to take any prescription meds. Will that change in the future? As you get older, maybe. I mean, as you get older, things start breaking down. So maybe yes, but and I won't be against it. But if there's something that can help me, like mushrooms, and I don't have to take a pharmaceutical, yes, I'm all over that totally. Let's see. Anything else? Does anybody have a question for me? We've gone about 53 minutes so far, and the first 5 minutes were worthless because I still wasn't sure whether the thing was working. And then Sylvia, my good friend Sylvia here, Sylvia Regina, came on and started introducing herself and asking questions. So then I knew it was working. And then people found their way into the room a little bit. But again, because of the tech problem I had and the bad link at the beginning, then I think it probably screwed a lot of people up. And I feel really bad about that. Um, Dave, they're making from Trip, they're making and patenting artificial THC, and psilocybin, growing them at home interferes. Yeah, I would. I, I'm not taking anything. I'm not taking artificial THC or artificial psilocybin. No, thank you. No, thank you, big pharma. I'm not doing that. I'm going with a natural plant that actually comes out of the ground. Thank you very much. Mike, the war on plant medicines is dying out, and medical community is seeing value of psychedelics. Yep, totally agree, Mike. Um, Let me ask you guys a question, all of you on here right now. How um, worried are you that if you're using a psychedelic plant-based medicine, such as magic mushrooms, how concerned are you that about law enforcement somehow finding out, and it's a felony, in most areas. Now, there are some areas of the US now that it's decriminalized or maybe legalized, but definitely decriminalized. There are a few pockets, but not many. So in most areas, it still is a felony, which means possible jail time, um, being a convicted felon for the rest of your life. Um, how do you guys feel about that? And does it concern you at all? Does it worry you? Or are you just thinking like, oh, I need this for my health and I don't really care what the law is. I'm going to use it and screw the authorities. I mean, what do you think? What do you think about that? I know artificial cannabis, that man-made cannabis is no, thank you. I'm going to take the real thing. I'm not taking artificial cannabis. Thank you. Maxine, I hate to ask, but how old are you? Me? How old am I? I think I've told you on previous. I think I've told you all, but okay. I just had a birthday. May 6th was my birthday. Hold the presents, hold the gifts. You don't have to send me anything. Hold all the gifts. But to answer your question, I turned 67 on my last birthday, which was a week ago, and I feel better than I did. I remember turning 65, and I was going through that medical weird anxious funk, and it was really bad. I can tell you now at age 67, I feel much better than I ever felt in the last decade or two. I feel great. So I think the what we're talking about, this plant is really has the potential to help people in a big way. It's absolutely helped me. Um, Mike, not too concerned about law due to therapeutic value, but again, okay, I'm with you on that, because I believe in the therapeutic value. But again, it's a felony in many. So what's it? I mean, nobody's just going to come randomly knock on your door. Um, but I don't know. That's why I never share anything about like actually using it or selling or distributing or sourcing. That's where I draw the line here. For all anybody knows, I could be a complete fake, and I've never even ever touched a magic mushroom in my life. I don't think that the authorities are going to come out and try to bust my house when, first of all, I don't even have anything here, and all I'm doing is talking. So I think there are bigger problems, but I'm just wondering what you all are thinking. That's all. 'Cause I'm using my face, my picture on live video or on videos on the internet, so I've got a much better chance of somebody coming down. But again, I don't get involved in the things that would probably get me in trouble. And again, I'm just talking, and there's nothing here. I I I can't even tell anybody where if I have any magic mushrooms and where they might be. I'd be stupid to keep them right in my house, right? That'd be ridiculous. I wouldn't do that. That's how I feel turning 60. So to me, Maxine, 60 is really young. 60 is really, but if you feel okay, so let me share that. This is a really interesting point, and not to talk about my age, but um, a couple of years ago when I was really starting to go through this crazy funk of mine, again, depression, anxiety, couldn't sleep well, um, pain all over, injuries. I started thinking high blood pressure. I started thinking, well, this is what happens as you age. This is the normal aging process, and there's nothing I can do about that. Bullshit. Guess what? I was totally wrong. There were other things going on with my body and with my mind that were causing me to feel older and to feel that I might be dying even. These things were going on. Once I fixed those things, I feel I feel great again. I wouldn't lie to you. I mean, if I were doing this video a year and a half ago, I would be saying I just feel horrible. I feel pain when I walk up a flight of stairs. I feel like I feel tired I feel tired all the time. I feel anxious. That's what I would be telling you a year and a half ago. Now, none of that. I feel like a kid again. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Um, Mike experienced benefits of plant medicines when Western medicine and pharmaceuticals didn't work for him. Okay, excellent. Well, see, I think in their own way, like there's no question in my mind, there's no question that psilocybin is a better medicine than any anti-anxiety or any antidepressant out there. I I think we're going to be finding that with the research they're doing at Hopkins and other institutions. We're going to be finding that to be true. I don't know if we'll find that in the next 5 years. I don't know, but I agree. What I've found and why I'm doing these videos and why I'm trying to help so many other people is this is the real thing, people. It's the real thing. It really will change your life around. Um, Sylvia, I'd love to share that. You have to stick with it. If you are microdosing as a trial, I'm with Dave on that one. The beginning was hard for me. Now I'm better in so many aspects. Good. And it works. I'm glad, really glad to hear that, Sylvia. It worked for me almost right away, but every month I could feel getting better and better and better, if that makes sense. So, in other words, the first month or so, I felt immediate positive effects to the point where very, very quickly I was able to get off my high blood pressure medication. And I thought, if this is the best it can be, this is great. But every month it started getting better. And even this month was better than last month. It's I don't know how good it's going to get. I mean, I don't see how it could get even better. But maybe if I'm talking to you a few months from now, maybe I'll look like I'm 18. I don't care about looking young, but I care about feeling. I care about feeling good, and feeling good generally means feeling young. But as far as I can't hide it. I mean, I'm old. I'm old. I can't hide the fact I'm not 35 anymore. But it's okay as long as you feel good. It's fine. I knew Sylvia. I knew. Yeah, I figured that's what it was. I figured a door was like a typo or something. Dave, I've got to take off. I'll catch you. Trip, thank you so much for being here. Everybody give Trip like a little round of applause because he comes on my videos. He's been on my regular videos. Some of my regular videos we have a little talk interview, but he's been on every one of my live streams and he's helped people with questions that I may not be able to answer as far as larger doses. I will be there one day. I will definitely be able to help you more with that. And I think still know a pretty good amount about them, but since I haven't experienced a 5 gram dose, I don't really want to be the one that's sharing information that wouldn't be right. Everything I share with you, I've either experienced myself or I've read so much about it that I know about it. Um, but if I never microdosed, I think it would be irresponsible for me to come on and have this channel on microdosing if I'm just making stuff up. No, I've done everything I talk about, I've done and I've felt, and I feel very comfortable sharing with you. Let's see. Okay. Anything else, guys? I've held you here for over an hour, a little over an hour. If you were with me from the very beginning, which Sylvia was with me from the beginning. So if you came on at the very beginning, you've been here for just a little bit over an hour. Some of you came in the middle or towards the end. It doesn't. If you're here at all, I appreciate you, and I also appreciate any one of you that is watching the replay of this, which you can always watch again. If you're here with me now, and there's something in the middle that you saw that you wanted to catch up on again, you can watch it again and see. So I really appreciate everybody here. Thank you so much. I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I try to keep these at the very most. I try to keep them an hour. Appreciate your time. Before we go, let's do a little exercise. I brought this for you, just for you. So give me another minute or so, and I want to share this with you. We're going to do some. If you ever find yourself in a funk and you're anxious or you need to calm down reasonably quickly, have you ever tried 4-4 breathing? If you haven't, if you have, congratulations. You probably know already how good it is. But if you haven't, think of 4-4 breathing as you're going to breathe in different stages, and they're each going to be to the count of 4. So the first thing you're going to do is breathe in through your nose, and as you're doing it, you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you pause for 4 seconds, and just count to yourself. This is when you're not breathing in or out. You're just holding at maximum lung capacity. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're ready to exhale. 2, 3, 4. Then you hold. 2, 3, 4. That's one whole cycle. And if you do several cycles of that every day or every couple days, you're going to be feeling calmacious. Is that a word? Calmacious. I just made it up. So let's try this. I'm going to go like this, and we're going to breathe. First thing we do is just breathe in through our nose. And on the count of 4, I'll count for you, so you don't have to worry about counting. So breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Your lungs should be full. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale through your nose or your mouth. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. That's one full cycle. Let's do one more. Let's do one more. I want you to be relaxed by the time you leave this live stream here. Okay, so let's do one full cycle. You start off with inhaling. So inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale slowly. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. I hope that was good for you. I learned that at my sound bath. Actually, I learned that. I know there are different types of breathing exercises. There's alternate nostril. There's a lot, but I tried that at the sound bath a couple weeks ago, and it was really really awesome. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Again, thank you all so much for being here. Maxine, thank you. I appreciate the comment. Alex, thank you so much. Bear, I almost lost consciousness. I love it. From the singing bowl and the 4-4 breathing. I love. By the way, just do a search for 4-4 breathing. I think it also might be called square or box breathing technique. But if you do a search for 4-4 breathing, or even there's another one, alternate nostril breathing, very very good. And if you don't know about these, you should learn them and practice them. A few times a week or so. It cannot hurt. It can only make things better. John Jack just got on. Go back and watch it. I think you'll appreciate it. It was a little flimsy at the beginning as we were having some tech issues, but it got a lot better. So again, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate your friendship and everything. And I'll see you soon. Take care. Have a great rest of your weekend.